G'day folks, and welcome to the Vookcast, Australia's Nintendo podcast. And welcome as well to our Vookcast DX video viewers. My name's Oliver Brandt, and with me this week are Luke Henderson.
Howdy.
And Michael Goncalves.
Hey team.
We've got a great episode lined up for you, all about new stuff on the My Nintendo store, a creepy, cute new indie game, Splatoon's continuing connection issues, and a discussion about Nintendo's mobile games. But first, as the games industry always does, let's talk about Skyrim. So Skyrim is back again with a new edition. Well, it's new-ish. So the Skyrim Anniversary Edition, which is created to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Skyrim, just randomly dropped onto the eShop like an hour before we started recording this episode. So the Anniversary Edition, which released on other consoles in November last year and was leaked for Switch sort of through multiple ratings boards, includes all the official content that was in the Special Edition that we got on Switch, so the base game and the two big DLCs, which is like Dawnguard and Hearthfire, whatever, as well as over 70 of the most popular mods from the Creation Club. So the Creation Club is sort of like the modding platform that Skyrim Special Edition had on other platforms, but the Switch never got any support for that. So it's good that it's, we finally have some mods, even if we can't sort of pick and choose which mods we have. But it costs $94.95 to buy if you're buying it just all at once, or an extra $30 if you own the base game on Switch already and just want to upgrade. So it's Skyrim. I don't understand like how 10 years later we're still talking about like new releases of Skyrim. Like I'm pretty sure this is just going to be like a thing for the rest of time now. But yeah. That price, Michael, you were like shaking your head at the price.
That price is insane. No one should pay $94.95 for Skyrim on Switch. That is a joke. Not to mention, let's be real, Christmas sale, that thing's going to be at least half price.
Yeah, it does drop to like $30 or $40 quite often in sales, in big sales. It doesn't. It's weird. Bethesda will discount Doom and Wolfenstein pretty consistently. But Skyrim tends to hold its price a little higher even when it's on sale. So yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Do you know like the most frustrating part of this, apart from the fact that it's Skyrim yet again? If you were to buy this on Xbox or PS4 or PS5, it costs $79.95 for the Legendary Edition. That includes not only the like 74 mods that are included in the Legendary the Anniversary Edition, by default, but also like full access to like the Creation Club, so you can like install more. So like it's an extra $15 to get less content that is presented worse. And like really the only thing that like the Switch version has that the other versions don't have is like lock picking with the Joy-Cons, which was like kind of cool. HD Rumble, which as far as I know, the PS5 version doesn't use the advanced haptics like
it does not.
The Switch version does, and like a Zelda outfit, and like that's it. Right, it's not worth an extra $15 for like a couple gimmicks and a single outfit that is not good gear-wise.
But you can also scan Amiibo. You can scan Amiibo and just have random treasure chests drop from the sky.
Chest drop from the sky, which can be used to kill enemies. Which is kind of cool, I guess. Just as a result of like the physics engine being the way that it is. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that like they're still doing this, right? Like they're still creating Anniversary Editions. Why wasn't this just like a free update to like Skyrim on all platforms? Like why charge people like an extra $30 for it?
Because they can, and people will buy it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like that's ultimately the thing. Although,
what's even worse is these mods weren't made by Bethesda; they were made by the community in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, like the good thing is that like people are getting paid for them. So like the people who made those mods are getting some or have gotten some pay for their inclusion in the Creation Club. But like obviously like Bethesda, now Microsoft I guess, is like making way more money than what they're paying to the creators of these mods.
Yeah.
Especially at $94.95.
Yeah. But yeah, like I don't know. It doesn't seem worth it, especially like on like Xbox. If you have an Xbox, you're pretty much guaranteed to be subscribed to Game Pass, which means that you can just play Skyrim like without paying a single cent. And it's like, yeah, sure, it doesn't have like the inbuilt 74 mods, but you can just go to the Creation Club and install them all yourself, as well as any other ones that you want. So yeah, it just, if you already have the game and like the anniversary edition upgrade for $30 like drops to $15 in this, end of year sales, then like get it. Otherwise, I just can't imagine anybody doing that, apart from Luke, who's already bought it.
Yeah, I bought it earlier.
Damn it, Luke.
You're the reason this keeps happening, Luke.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I own Skyrim on every platform except the PS3. But I was hoping that the update would actually do some improvements as well to the game visually. I was hoping that the developers took the time to, tweak the Skyrim Switch port a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It just seems to be they've just thrown in more content to the game. And it's not as if the Skyrim on Switch couldn't support extra content, because it does, because of the expansions. So, the whole adding mods could have been a thing since day one, but they decided not to do it on Switch. So
I will say though, like, if you haven't like picked up Skyrim on Switch, like, it is a remarkably good port.
Yeah.
All things considered. We've seen some like pretty dodgy ports in the past on Switch, but this one, like, it looks not quite as good as the other console versions, like the Legendary Edition or Special Edition or whatever it was called on other platforms.
It was Special Edition first.
There we go. But like it's like a noticeable improvement from like the Xbox 360 PS3 version.
Yeah.
Both in terms of like texture quality and lighting. And runs like really solidly. I think it's still only like 30 frames a second, but I mean, it's Skyrim.
Yeah.
Like we're all here like of the mind that like every game should be 60 frames a second if it can be. But like I think everybody has played Skyrim so many times that like it could be 15 frames a second and it'd be like the same experience to me, just because it's Skyrim and I'm so tired of it.
I disagree. Even if I hate it, I want it at 60 FPS.
The cool thing with this one is the folks who did the port initially, Iron Galaxy Studios out of Chicago, they're also the same folks who did the Diablo 3 port on Switch as well. So they do have a bit of talent behind it. And then they just did that Rumbleverse, that free-to-play multiplayer brawler thing that just sort of released out of nowhere and doesn't seem to be doing much.
And then nobody paid attention to it. But yeah, so like if you're gonna get it, like wait for a sale, because it goes on sale fairly frequently. It's just not worth paying $95 for something that's been out for, a decade.
No, and Switch owners or Nintendo owners, do get blessed occasionally with random discounts on gift cards from, Australian retailers as well, which can also help bring prices down.
Yeah. And I'm sure that like there's going to be a physical version of the Anniversary Edition as well floating around that'll probably be like deeply discounted at, I don't know, Harvey Norman or some shit. Don't buy games from Harvey Norman though. You're never going to get it. Moving on though. So the Nintendo Australia put up a whole bunch of like Nintendo Tokyo merch on the Australian My Nintendo store. So the collection features a bunch of Animal Crossing goodies, including 3 different sizes of cookie jar-like canisters, 3 different sizes of Tupperware-like containers, and a couple of like cute pens, one which is like a Tom Nook, and one is Isabel. Nintendo Australia also says that a bunch more Nintendo Tokyo products are on the way, including a very cute a Mario plate rather, Mario and crew themed chopsticks, and a very slick-looking Majora's Mask pin. So Nintendo Australia, just in general, hasn't really been all that great in the past about like providing this kind of stuff. Like, we don't have like a dedicated Nintendo store like many other countries do. So like, in the US, they've got Nintendo New York. Japan has like a whole bunch of them. Europe, I don't think has any, but like they have pop-up stores that are like, every few months
Well, they've had the Nintendo UK have had a dedicated online store, where they sell their games for a number of years, and they do the occasional bits and pieces. But
yeah, so it's really good that like this stuff that like again was previously exclusive to actually like going in store or ordering online if you're in Japan as well, to like the Nintendo Tokyo store, and it also like says like Nintendo Tokyo on it. But yeah, it's nice that we're finally getting access to these. Michael, though, has an issue with it.
Yeah, look, I love these, and I actually really want to get them. I think they're cute as hell. I just really hate how all of these, at least the Animal Crossing cookie jar, or legally distinct from cookie jar, and tubs, have the stupid copyright Nintendo on the front right next to the image. Like, is that necessary? Yeah. Like, it doesn't ruin it completely. I was like, it makes them unusable. But there's some really nice art on these things. And you can just slam a copyright on the bottom of the damn tub. It doesn't need to be like right there in the middle of the actual tub itself. It's just a shame. They can do better and they just aren't. But they're neat as hell. So I don't blame anyone who buys them, including myself, who probably will.
Yeah. It is funny though, because I had the Nintendo store up for like an hour this morning, because I'm like, because Vook's made a comment about how the US My Nintendo store had the 64 controllers come back in stock, and then like went out of stock almost instantaneously. So I'm like, I'll just have it up, and I had it sitting there, and I refreshed the page, it said out of stock, so I just jumped back to the main screen, for what I don't know why I wasn't looking for anything new, and I happened to see them there. They were just like plastered up in the last like 2 minutes or something. So it was an out of nowhere thing. Like there wasn't even a tweet at that point. So I'm very happy that we're getting them, but I wish Nintendo would actually tell us, in advance these things are coming, not just like, oh, by the way, we put all these up now. Enjoy.
I think the other thing worth. Go on.
So I'm gonna say the Majora's Pen looks sick, by the way.
The Majora's Pen does look sick.
It's really really good.
And there's a whole bunch more like Nintendo Tokyo stuff that looks really cool as well that I'm hoping we're getting. But yeah, I do just want to point out that like these are also like quite reasonably priced as well. They're not as expensive as some of the stuff that usually goes up on the My Nintendo store in Australia.
Yeah, I think the most expensive thing's like $30.
Yeah, and that's
like the large container. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is still like quite expensive. Like it's not like made of porcelain or whatever. It is like a food safe resin plastic. But I mean, it's also microwave safe as long as you don't put the lids on it. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice. It would have been nicer if it was like made of porcelain, because I think like a big heavy porcelain cookie jar is like a cool dope thing that everybody should own.
Yeah, it's made out of styrene acrylonitrile resin.
Yeah,
that rolls off the tongue.
But yeah, I mean, like it's good, and I hope we get like more stuff. I'm interested to see how much the Majora's Mask pin is, because that is very very cool. I would probably pay like $20 for that.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, I assume it's going to be $20. It feels like a $20 product. I don't know why, it just does.
I actually have a few things from the Nintendo store from Tokyo. I have a little Lon Lon Ranch milk bottle.
Oh, that's cool.
And I have the key, the Eye of Truth key thing, whatever you want to call it. And then I have an actual giant warp pipe, and inside it's filled with biscuits. That I've had that thing for 2 years now. They're probably stale as all buggery, but each of the biscuits is themed to one of the games in the Mario timeline. So you actually open up if you hit Layer Mat, you actually get the box arts for Japan for all the Mario games. So
that's really cool.
They've had some really amazing stuff over the years in the store. I've got friends that live in Japan and they're forever going there. And so the fact that we're getting some, and even if it isn't everything, the fact that we're starting to get things, and it's not just a once-off, because Nintendo, as I said, they've said, hey, we're bringing more stuff later in the year. We could see some of their, maybe not their most popular items, because they may sell those out and we may never see them here. But the fact that we're going to get some more things is very, very cool, because there's a bunch of Splatoon stuff that is in Japan that I'd love to see come here.
Yeah,
Nintendo, I would definitely buy a whole set of all the items in miniature form from your Ocarina of Time inventory. Just saying, I would 100% buy that.
Yeah. And Vook actually brought up something nice. Is that like a lot of the time, like when you're buying something from the My Nintendo store, you're like, especially the controllers, like you're like 5 cents or like a couple dollars short of like getting the free shipping. Because like the controllers, like $79.95, and you need $80 to get the free shipping. But like the Tom Nook pen or the Isabelle pen, they're like $8.95, which is like really not that big of a deal to just like slap on there because you're going to be paying like $8.50 in shipping anyway. So
Totally.
you may as well get a pen out of it as well.
That's the downside I have with the rewards. Like, oh, here's this Kirby pin or whatever the recent thing was. Oh, the Splatoon scrunchie is one of the more recent things. It's like, okay, cool, that's really cool. It's 400 platinum points. That's great. But it's like $8 for postage. Just like, yeah, do I really need it?
Yeah,
I know $8 for postage isn't a lot of money, but it's like, if I'm talking about having to spend $8, or just waiting until I'm ordering something else and then throwing it in there, I wish they do. You could use 500 points for postage or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't make any money off it.
That's not my problem.
That's where they get you. So speaking of Splatoon 3, this is a very late segue. Nintendo is still trying to fix communication errors in Splatoon 3. With a new patch that is coming tomorrow at the time of recording, but probably came like 2 weeks ago at the time you're listening to this. So the game has been plagued with multiplayer issues since launch, with a gigantic amount of players posting to social media, our Discord, and even the in-game social network where you can like draw pictures and shit. Complaining about and detailing their connection woes. So the new patch, which is version 1.1.2, also fixes a host of bugs that have been present in the game since launch. And the patch after this one, which we don't really know when it's coming, is reportedly going to be focused on weapon balance, which is based on the match data that they've collected so far. So we recently had a big Splatfest, the first Splatfest since the game was actually out and not just like an obvious server test. And man, whatever that last patch did to help with the connection issues, it did not help. I actually didn't play any of the Splatfest. I say that it hasn't helped. It has helped in very unique circumstances. So in my personal experience, I could never get into a game if I just finished a match. You have the option to keep playing, which will try to matchmake you with the same group of people, or you can just leave and then rejoin later. In my experience, before the patch, the last patch that tried to fix its connection issues, if I hit keep playing, there was just no chance. It would fail and disconnect every single time. But that isn't an issue anymore. 90% of the time, if I'm in a match and I hit keep playing, I'm still gonna get into a match. So that's better for me. But then there are other people in our Discord that have the exact opposite problem, where they can get into a match made thing just from the lobby menu, but then keep playing just doesn't work for them at all. Which I have issues actually getting into matches, but once I'm in a lobby, I'm pretty safe. But they have the opposite problem. So it's clearly presenting in different ways for different people, and it's still just such a shit show. Which I know Nintendo bad at online isn't exactly a headline, but they've put so much resources into Splatoon 3 and so much marketing budget, and it's selling extraordinarily well, but there's really no excuse for it to still be having these issues a month out from when it launched. I don't know when it actually launched. I've had the game for such a long time, having reviewed it.
It launched 20 days ago. It's not even 3 weeks old yet.
3 weeks, and there's still major connection issues for a majority of players.
Yeah. So Nintendo provided me a copy for review as well, but I got it post general availability. And so my experience in reviewing it was infinitely worse than yours, Ollie, because I was stuck waiting to get into lobbies because of all these connection problems. And for me, the only thing I could do in that game because of these connection issues was do the single player. Because I couldn't do Salmon Run because I wasn't level 4. I couldn't do Table Turf Battle because I wasn't level 4. I couldn't even look in the shops because I wasn't level 4. And I couldn't get to level 4 because I could either get into a match after like 5 or 6 attempts, but then I could never stay in the matches because, it would kick me out because of communication errors. So, I mean, obviously, that's me, and I'm not a multiplayer gamer, so I'm not going to come back to it anytime soon. But if you're someone who's dying to play Splatoon and this is your experience where you're constantly getting stuck and you can't do anything because everything's gated behind levels and you can't get levels because you can't access the core function of the game, that's just really, really bad. And the fact that this isn't a brand new IP, that the first time ever doing this sort of game, they've had 2 of these before and they've done pretty well with online with Mario Kart. So yeah.
Although this is the first time they're using the new servers for a game like this that actually requires any sort of fast-paced movement and has 8 players connected at once. So I'm willing to give them a very, very tiny amount of slack for that.
Nope.
But
they don't give them any slack. They don't deserve it.
I mean, here's the thing, right? Is that, when I was in the review period, even when there weren't a great deal amount of people playing, so during the review period, at most we had dedicated sessions, and at most there were 20 people in the world playing at once, and the servers were 100% fine. So it's clear that the issue here is some sort of scaling thing, right? There's just too many people actually trying to play Splatoon, and their servers are just I don't know what the fuck to do with all of these people, and just shitting themselves.
I'm just imagining Nintendo just has one server. That's what they did. There's one server in the back that can host a couple of people, and I was that should be fun.
So,
oh man.
This is a tangent, but it's something somewhat similar. So there's a ride at Disneyland, Disney's California Adventure called Toy Story Midway Mania, and it's themed like old school carnival games, but it's a 3D ride. So you have glasses on, and you're on this vehicle, and it moves around, right? When they started designing that concept, it was in 1998, so they were using Windows 98 machines, and to this day, they're still running that ride on Windows 98 because the software was custom written for that operating system, and it's going to cost them too much money to upgrade the game, essentially, that the attraction is, to a modern platform than it is just to keep running Windows 98 because of all the hardware they had to install for the ride itself. So it just sort of reminds me of that there's one server for Nintendo and it's running Windows 2000 or something.
Well, that was real not long ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was the case, up until this game, basically. I mean, Mario Party had it, but, Mario Party was, the most bare bones online you could imagine.
Doesn't Monster Hunter Rise use it as well?
Yeah, but that's Capcom. Yeah. Capcom knows what they're doing. And, ultimately, it does just come down to, netcode, right? You can, with good netcode, you can make sort of any sort of server system work well enough. But the problem is that Splatoon 3 isn't working well enough. So yeah, fingers crossed that this, they say that they're going into much more extensive fixes in the Japanese patch notes for this upcoming patch. So fingers crossed that actually does anything. But yeah, it's not in a great place, and I feel if it continues for too much longer, it's going to start turning a lot more players away. And they really can't afford to do that for a game like this, which is designed to evolve over time and bring in new players and keep people sort of entertained in between the seasons.
It's a shame because as much as the game isn't I'm still gonna play it. It isn't 100% my jam, but it's done very well.
Yeah.
And it'd be just a shame that it dies because Nintendo yet again couldn't get online right. It's just wild.
I don't blame Nintendo. I blame all those people that were mean in YouTube comments about my playing.
Yeah. It's so weird, because I don't know. I looked back at this is completely unrelated to the discussion, but I looked back at your footage and you weren't playing poorly, and then you got really really comments on our YouTube about your gameplay, but then my gameplay wasn't all that much better on the videos that I put up, and then people were wow, you're such a good player, and I was what is why is there such a rift between the comments we're getting? I think it just ended up hitting different audiences, but
probably.
Yeah. If you're watching anything on YouTube, including this, which is now available on YouTube for Patreon subscribers early and then everybody else later, just leave nice comments and don't be a dick. You can just be nice in the comment section. You don't have to be rude. If you don't like something, just
why would
piss off.
You say that out loud? Oh my god.
I know that we're only going to get mean comments now.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to something that doesn't have people yelling at us in the comments. So we don't often get to talk about indie games in the news section here, unless there's been like a recent Nintendo Direct that showed off a whole bunch of farming games. So I thought this one was worth a mention, primarily because there's not very much news, but also because like it looks really good. So Penko Park, which is an incredibly creepy Pokemon Snap-like game, is out now on the Nintendo Switch. It came out like 2 days ago at the time of recording. So the game is an on-rail photo shooter, much like Pokemon Snap, and it features 140 fever dreamish monsters to snap in their natural habitat. It only costs like $19.45, so like go check it out. It seems really good. I haven't played it. I've seen people play it because it was on Steam like last year, I think. But it just looks really, really weird, but like in a cute and endearing kind of way. But yeah, it looks really good. I don't know if you guys have watched the trailer. It's like
Literally watching it right now.
it's like deeply weird. Like there's no
It
getting
is
around the
super
fact
weird.
that it's like very, very weird.
But it's got a really, really cool art style, and it looks like it's running very, very well on the Switch due to that art style. Like it's totally made for it. But yeah, like the animals are like you're saying, they're cute but also creepy. Like it's a really weird mix of art, but it looks really cool.
It's kind of like if somebody took the Silent Hill art style and applied it to Bug Snacks.
Yeah,
I was gonna say if somebody took like
totally.
that Silent Hill art style and then like applied it to the Very Hungry Caterpillar, because like that's the vibe that I get from this. It's like a dark, twisted, very hungry caterpillar, and like that's great. But yeah, I mean like it's, I don't know. I kind of want to like start spotlighting like indie games in our news section, because again we don't really get to talk about them much, and like we quite often skip over the games that we're playing, which very often includes indie games. So yeah, if you've got a game coming out that you think we should talk about, let me know, because I know that we do have game devs that like listen to us and message me with notes afterwards. So let me know. If anyone else has anything to say about Penko Park, just it's weird.
If I was somewhat interested in the whole on rails photography thing, I would be over the moon, because this is now the fourth if you include the Nintendo 64 release from a few months back. This is the fourth sort of on rails photography game that's on Switch. It's kind of a bit of a mini resurgence there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a very, like, I mean, on-rails shooters in general, not just, like, photo shooters, are, like, a very underutilized genre of game. And I feel like they can be very difficult to do right, but when they are done right, they're just, like, absolutely fantastic. Like, I've never played an on-rails shooter that I didn't enjoy, whether that be, like, one in an arcade that is actually shooting people, or, you know, a Pokemon Snap style game where you take pictures of Pokemon.
The best one, hands down, for me though, Dead Space Extraction on the Wii. That was sublime.
Never. House of the Dead Overkill is just
House of the Dead
fantastic.
is really good.
See, that's a very close second, but because I was so invested in the Dead Space games at the time, Extraction just sort of kept me in that world a bit longer, and that's why I sort of liked that one more.
Look, any PSVR 2 developers out there that want to make a amazing on-rails shooter, I would instantly buy it.
Didn't the Until Dawn people do an on-rail horror shooter for PSVR 1?
But potentially? I didn't really pay attention to PSVR 1.
I feel like I vaguely
VR1.
remember it.
And, you know, to be honest, not a lot of other people did also, because it just doesn't exist anymore, which is a shame.
Yeah. And then, like, none of the games will be compatible on PS5 anyway, so suck shit.
Well, no, they'll be compatible on PS5.
The PS5,
not...
you just have to have both headsets connected if you get the PSVR 2, because, like, Sony hates their customers or something.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of defo in this Vookcast. Alright, let's move on to our feature discussion. So, over the last few years, Nintendo seems to have drastically slowed down its mobile game development plans. with seemingly no new games on the horizon from the company, and with existing games either getting pared back, reworked, or shut down entirely. So for a company that has once expressed, a desire to have mobile gaming as a second pillar alongside its console gaming business, it seems like Nintendo isn't quite as keen as they could be. So I thought I would go through the mobile games and sort of like talk about like where they are right now. And like this is like not even talking about the fact that like they've said that they had like Zelda game in development and that just like didn't happen. But yeah, so let's go through the games. We've got Miitomo, which was their first game-ish thing. It was really just like a weird like pseudo social network where you like went into people's houses and asked them intrusive questions.
The only thing that Miitomo was used for was the Nintendo account creation.
Yeah, I mean
that's
the
only thing that made use of that mattered.
I mean, like it kind of feels like Miitomo was sort of designed specifically to get people creating Nintendo accounts in preparation for the Switch. So that came out in 2016, and I think like ultimately it ended in like 2018, like the middle of 2018. So yeah, they didn't keep that around for too long. Super Mario Run was like their first proper game. They sort of tried doing bucking the trend on mobile games where they just sort of like made it an actual paid game. I think $10 was probably too much of an ask.
Oh, wasn't it $15?
15 here, 10 US.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, $15. It is too much of an ask, right? Like nobody's going to spend $15 on a mobile game.
But then they go Square Enix in the background asking for like $40 for Final Fantasy ports that are
totally
16 years old.
But like they supposedly said they had their market research or whatever that said that if they sold it for less, like they wouldn't make any more money. Like the stats like didn't like the more users per it just didn't work out. I just don't believe that could be correct. I feel like if they sold it for like the standard iOS game price back then of like what was it like $5 or something like that, it would have sold so much more, so much more.
So Sensor Tower, which is a mobile analytics firm, which like take this with a grain of salt because like Sensor Tower has done some dodgy shit in the past. Their numbers are not entirely reliable, but they said that the Super Mario Run had made about $56 million in revenue in the first year, and then it didn't really make much money after the first year anyway. But like there's no way that like this game cost like $56 million to develop. Like this is like at the most like a couple $1 million. Yeah, I mean it was fine. Like I actually quite like Super Mario Run. I think like the idea of like an auto runner Mario platformer is a really neat idea. But yeah, the pricing really killed it on that.
It still blows my mind that you're watching an Apple event and then Miyamoto walks out on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the thing that sort of blew my mind about that whole thing. Not that the game itself is fine, but you see Miyamoto, you think Nintendo straight away. If you're in the game space, you do. And then if you see him talking about a game, cool, it's a Nintendo game. But the fact that he appeared on a thing, it was like when he showed up at the Ubisoft conference for Mario plus Rabbids. It's like, okay, Nintendo are actually involved in this one. It's not just they're not just signed off the thing. That was sort of a massive moment for me when I saw that.
So after Super Mario Run, it's like Super Mario Run isn't gone. Like you can still like hop on the store and like download it and then pay money to buy it. But like nobody's really doing that. I would imagine that like maybe like 10,000 people have like downloaded it in the last year, if we're like being generous.
They're still doing updates for that game where they just keep adding new double gold coin events for the in-game stuff.
But again, it's one of those situations where it's like kind of what we were talking about in the Slack the other day about like how there's just like one dude just like who hasn't gotten the email yet that they've stopped. Yeah, so like obviously I don't know, like Nintendo said that like they had a less than a 10% conversion rate, so like less than 10% of the people who downloaded the game actually paid for it. So yeah, the pricing really just killed it on that.
just to clarify on Ollie's comment, they weren't downloading it illegally. You downloaded the game and you got a trial of the first 4 levels, and then if you liked it, you had to pay to unlock the rest of the game, which was a big thing for mobile games back in the day. Like when iPhone sort of first launched, you could download the light version of games.
Yeah.
So,
sort of after that, we got into like the big 2. These are games that are still around and still actually making money. So Fire Emblem Heroes, it's basically like it's a pretty good mobile game, like all things considered. Like it has just like classic Fire Emblem tactical RPG gameplay. Unfortunately, it is a gacha game, which is why it's still making money. Is because like
how many gacha elements does it have?
Yeah, so it is a gacha game, and like it's very much an unforgiving gacha game. Like it does have like a sort of like a forgiving mechanic in that like if you do like a certain amount of pulls in a particular banner, and you don't get like the hero that you want, you can just like get that character. But like it's gacha, so it's like heavily randomized and has people just like dumping money into it, which is why it's like banned in a couple European countries now. But it's wildly popular, still good, and if it ever starts like dropping in popularity, they can just like chuck Lucina in a bikini or something and get like $1 billion more, which has pretty much been their plan for that one the entire time. So yeah, I mean that's still around. They're still getting like regular new content updates, and I think that'll happen for as long as Fire Emblem is popular, which is apparently for the rest of time. In sort of the same year, but like a few months later, we had Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which again is still sort of around. That didn't have gacha elements to begin with. It has them now, kind of, but like it's I don't know, it's a bit of a weird place. Cameras.
Did it launch with that weird system where? You'd go to somebody and say, "Hey, build this for me," and they'd say, "Sure, it's going to take 2 hours."
Yeah,
and that was 2 hours real time, or you could pay X number of coins, whatever it was.
Yeah, and
they'd do it for like you in 2 minutes.
Yeah, wasn't that one of those ones? It is. It has a lot of cooldown timers, which like I'm in a game like this where like it's not as if like specific content is gated off. It's like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, if I was like in a dungeon crawler type of game, which we'll get to in a little bit, and like I had to wait a certain amount of time before I could go to the next dungeon, that would be really frustrating. But Pocket Camp was sort of like built around the idea that like you open it up, spend a couple minutes in it each day, set some things up, and then just like don't play it for the rest of the day. So like it was kind of fine in that respect, but like any amount of like the fact that you could pay money to skip those timers is always going to be exploitative, because there are going to be people who are impatient and have like bad impulse control or any other number of issues that prevent them from sort of really thinking that through and stopping themselves from paying that money. Anyway, they've sort of like started paring that down a bit. Like there's not really much content being made for Pocket Camp anymore. They still have updates, but like there's nothing huge really happening to it anymore.
For years, though, all I remember seeing from them was fortune cookies.
Yeah.
Fortune cookies everywhere in that game.
In the following year, 2018, we got Dragalia Lost. So this was a dungeon crawler game. It also had some gacha elements, but not quite as heavy as like Fire Emblem Heroes. It was a new IP, which is not something that you can be said of any of Nintendo's other mobile games.
Well, Miitomo.
Well, I mean, Mii's were kind of like a thing already. But yeah, so Dragalia Lost was like a new IP, and Nintendo does own that IP. So fingers crossed they continue to do more with it, because it is a really, really interesting story. So this is like a heavy story focus. They release like story updates like every few months for players that are like caught up to it. And then it died. Well, it didn't die. It's going to be shut down on November 30th of this year. The last story update came out, and they were just like, "Yeah, that's it. We're done."
Oh
a little
no!
disappointing.
Someone stop them.
Well, I mean, like, we say that, but like, from what I've heard, like, there was a pretty significant amount of like the Canadian voice acting community that was like solely living off Dragalia Lost voice sessions, because like they paid well. Nintendo does pay their voice actors a lot better than some other companies in the mobile space, and even in the console space, Nintendo pays well above what other companies tend to for the like 3 games they've ever produced that have voice acting. But yeah, so like it's like really devastating for them because like, you know, obviously that work that was stable is no longer stable, and you know, the work that they did is now just going to be gone forever. Like they're not updating that game so you can play it offline or whatever. It's just gone. So you know, that lasted like 4-ish years, 4.5, which is pretty decent. Unlike the next one, which is Dr. Mario World. So Dr. Mario World released in 2019. It was an okay puzzle game. It was just like an upside down Dr. Mario, which like Dr. Mario is good.
Actual Dr. Mario is good. Dr. Mario World wasn't good.
I didn't mind the gameplay, like just purely from a gameplay perspective, like it was fine. It was a lot more playable to me as a colorblind person than like most Dr. Mario titles. But it didn't really capture people's attention because I mean, there's only so much that you can do with Dr. Mario, right? Like, there's no events you can. I mean, they put out so many doctors like Goomba Stack, Dr. Goomba Stack, that well-known Nintendo character. And this is what pisses me off, right? Is that like the Paper Mario series isn't allowed to like put a hat on a bomb, but like the mobile game developers could like make a Goomba Stack a doctor. Like, get out of here.
Oh my god.
Wasn't the dolphin character you can?
Yep.
Yeah, they were a thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there was Dr.
And
Dolphin.
Dr. Baby Wario, i.e.
Yep.
the best character in the game.
But yeah, ultimately, like they couldn't find a way to hook players, and it shut down after just 2 years. So it released in 2019 and got canned in 2021.
Honestly, they'd have found players if they'd have just left the damn formula alone and, you know, made it a traditional falling block game instead of, you know, going the other way.
I mean, really, what they should have done is made a Dr. Mario 99 and then just like made that mobile exclusive. Because like people would have like ate that shit up.
Yeah.
Also, like make more 99 games. Put Tetris 99 on mobile. I don't care. I just want like more 99 games. They're really fun.
Mario 30? Mario 30?
Super Mario 35, yeah.
Yeah, 35, thank you. Bring that back. Like, why was that limited? It's just so stupid.
Yeah. I think it was only limited because, like, Pac-Man 99 was, like, going to come out, like, shortly after, and they didn't really want... I'm assuming they paid, like, a fair amount of money to get that license from Namco. So I have a feeling that they just, like, didn't want 3 games of a similar kind of premise competing with each other, and in order to get Namco on board, they needed to only have the one. It's really hard to say, but it was a dumb decision nonetheless.
Because Pac-Man 99 isn't really setting, you know, the
nobody plays it.
I
literally tried to like play it the other day, and it took like 5 minutes to find a match, and then after that, I couldn't find a match at all. So I was like, okay, well, I guess nobody plays this anymore.
It's weird because like Tetris sets like feels a very particular 99 niche, right? It is a fast-paced like puzzle / action game. Like weirdly enough, it's logical in a way to send like harm to other players. So like having the blocks like fill up down the bottom means that you have less space to like position blocks at the top. And I feel like Mario 35 was exactly the same in a platforming type of way. Everyone's playing these different levels, but all playing like Mario 1. Everyone's sending like more enemies to each other. Like it really works out, but like, I don't know, Pac-Man just didn't vibe like at all.
Yeah. I mean, and Dr. Mario World would have been better as a 99, but I don't know if it still really would have hit the same heights.
Probably not. I think it's just too similar to Tetris 99. Like it's the same type of deal.
I mean, Angelo's not here and he's our resident music guy, but which has the better music, Tetris or Dr. Mario?
Ooh.
Okay, Tetris 99 is like better because it has like a whole bunch of music from different games, and like all of those games are really good. And it has an absolutely like slammin' remix of the Donkey Kong 25-meter theme, which, as we know, is like one of the best themes in video game history. So I quite enjoy it for that. But like, I mean, Dr. Mario has some dope music as well. Yeah, and it always kind of has like the main sort of like Dr. Mario theme is like one of my favorite NES.
I mean, imagine they did some type of Tetris Dr. Mario mashup. Can't imagine that ever happening in the past. Not at all.
Also in 2019, we had one that is kind of still successful, although there is a caveat to this as well. Mario Kart Tour. So that was actually announced at the start of 2018 and then didn't come out until the middle of or I mean, sort of depending on where you were in the world, the middle or sort of towards the end of 2019. But that was like a one-handed racing-ish game. I mean, now, like, looking back at it, we can kind of tell that, like, Mario Kart Tour was kind of like an asset farm for Mario Kart 8.
I was going to say, like, you know, Mario Kart Tour brought us all these new tracks to Mario Kart 8, but also Mario Kart Tour brought us all these tracks to Mario Kart 8. Like, they're just...
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, we clearly had fun when we played them. It's not like they're horrible, but they're just not the same type of quality as the ones built into Mario Kart 8. They just really aren't.
I mean, visually, they're not the same as well.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah. And it's kind of, like, hard to tell if, like, that's some sort of, like, limitation of them adding on to, like, this, like, what, almost decade-old code base. Or if it's an art style decision. Because it feels a little bit like they chose to make it more simplified. But, like, on the other hand, like, it's a really big mismatch with how Mario Kart 8 looks everywhere else.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, I would say Mario Kart 8, the booster course tracks don't look horrible. They're just not quality-wise where the main game is.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, like, if the rest of the game looked like that, I would be, like, over the moon with these new tracks, right? If like, Mario Kart 8 had, like, launched and it looked like that, I would have been happy with it on Wii U. I would have been happy with it on Switch, and I would have been happy with the DLC as well. The problem is that it looks so much better than that. And it's just really a stark difference. When you're playing, like, a playlist of tracks, and, like, you go from, like, you know, a couple, you know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks in a row to, like, the booster packs, it is just, like, a stark difference. It's like you're playing two entirely separate games.
And not to mention the actual track design itself. Like, the newer tracks are very clearly made for Mario Kart Tour. They're very wide. Yeah. There's lots of room. Like,
you know, the irony is that, like, the best tracks that are, like, the least Tour-like are the ones that originated in Tour, because they are, like, chopped and changed, like, all of the different variants from Tour into one, like, track, and they had to, like, do a lot of editing for that. Whereas with, like, the other ones, like, you know, Waluigi Pinball and all of that kind of thing, you know, there was only, you know, they sort of just made the track as it was, and then, like, dumped it into Tour and simplified it. So when it came over to Mario Kart 8, it wasn't, like, really all that great. Like, it was still obviously the track that you know and love, but it didn't have, like, the sort of dynamic feel of all of the other Mario Kart 8 tracks. Whereas, like, the ones that were made for Tour, because they had to do so much editing to, like, actually fit them together, actually do feel less like mobile game tracks.
Except, of course, the Ninja Hideaway and the ice cream figure eight. It's a oval shape of death, whatever you want to call that one. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
those two.
I mean, those are
original
still, like,
ones.
Yeah. And they're great. But yeah, so Mario Kart Tour actually very recently removed its gacha elements. So there's no more gacha. It used to be like you could, like, pay a bunch of rubies, which is what their in-game currency is called. Their premium in-game currency. So you could pay a bunch of rubies to get some, like it would like launch things out of a warp pipe, and you would get like a character or like a costume or whatever.
Did they not choose, the actual Mario Kart currency, which is coins, just because? Is it like some type of legal thing? Like they couldn't like coins is like too real or something? They
still had coins. That was just the currency that like you earned in game, but the premium currency was called rubies for whatever reason. Despite the fact that like the Mario series has had different like collectibles and shit in the past, they could have like blue coins
or red coins, like whatever.
Red coins, but no rubies. So you used to be able to do that, and like it would spit out a thing from a warp pipe, and you would get a character or an outfit or a cart piece or something. And they just removed that. Now you can just like go into the shop and just buy the pieces that you want. Which like,
can respect
on
that.
the one hand is good, but like on the other hand, it's very clearly an attempt to get around European laws around gambling elements. And
are the carts all? What do they sell? Carts and characters?
Carts and characters, yeah.
Right,
and like, outfits for characters.
Right, is the pricing BS? I'm assuming it's not great.
Yeah, it's pretty BS. I think it's like $5 for a character and like $4 for a cart.
If they actually impacted how the character played or something, then sure. But it's just a visual thing.
Yeah.
I will say though, the fact that Mario Kart launched and then they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have a gold pass," and offered up exclusives to gold pass members of this game, and it's like, you have to be kidding me.
And then like all of the best parts of the gold pass, they ended up like making free to everyone anyway.
Yeah.
And then like gold pass members are just like paying like $10 a month for essentially nothing. Yeah, it's dumb. But I think the fact that they took the gacha elements out of it, apart from like obviously just trying to get around European law, is that it's on the way out. I do not think that Mario Kart Tour is going to last another 2 years.
It'll last as long as the booster course pack tracks take to release.
So the end of next year, and I think that'll be it. The last game that they released, I don't know, like it's definitely a Nintendo game, but it's not really a Nintendo game, is Pikmin Bloom. So that came out last year, kind of. It's a really weird place because it had like very long sort of pseudo beta in like some countries, and then like it started coming out in October 2021, and then like it didn't really finish rolling out until early this year. But like it's Pokemon Go but with Pikmin, so like it's really not
which is hilarious, because when it was announced, I remember putting some art together for the site to be like, oh, here it is. Mm-hmm. I think I took a picture of like the Melbourne Gardens, put a phone in it, and then just put like a picture of a map in it. And then I think you and Vooks were like, no, that's just like Pokemon Go. You can't do that. And that's exactly what it ended up being anyway.
Yeah, because like they announced that like a Pikmin game is coming to mobile, and we're like, okay, that sounds kind of cool. And then you made this picture, and it was like, okay, that's clearly just Pokemon Go. Nobody's gonna believe that. It's just gonna make us look silly when it eventually comes out into like a proper game.
And then spent 5 minutes advertising it in the last direct for some reason.
Well, see, that's the thing. I feel like he did that because it's not doing super well. And like obviously like Pikmin Bloom was like designed pretty much just to be an ad for Pikmin 4.
I thought that's what his shirt was for. His shirt was for Pikmin 4.
I don't know what they expected. Like they're trying to draw the Pokemon Go crowd because it's essentially the same type of game. But Pokemon Go formula is just so much better than the Pikmin formula for this.
Well, yeah. It's even worse because you could play Pikmin on the way to your Pokemon Go stop. Because it's just a bloody walking. It's a pedometer.
Yeah.
Which everyone that has a smartwatch does that same thing anyway.
Mr. Classist over here. Everybody has a smartwatch. I mean, I'm literally wearing a smartwatch right now, but even still.
Oh, but you get those like $50 smartwatches these days.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'd laughed about, the fact that it's both Pokemon Go and Pikmin Bloom are both Niantic games, or Niantic Labs, or whatever you want to call them. And they hit they did whatever it was called initially. They did one game, it didn't really do so well. Then they got Pokemon, and it blew up the world. And then since then, they've tried to do it with Harry Potter, Jurassic Park. I think there was a Ghostbusters one from somebody else that came and went. Now Niantic are doing an NBA version of Pokemon Go. And obviously now doing Pikmin, and they announced something recently as well.
There was a Transformers ones that they were doing, and then they cancelled it.
Yeah. Now, there was another Niantic one, and it was in one of those showcases from a few weeks ago. But Square Enix had one for Dragon Quest. Tact, I think it was called. So been all these.
It's kind of like it's the farming game problem, right? Is like where one game becomes like super successful, and then a whole bunch of other companies are like, let's do that. Except in this case, the company is Niantic, and they don't understand what made Pokemon Go popular, and that's the fact that everyone loves Pokemon. And that's it. Like, there's no other reason. Like, there is a reason that Pokemon is the highest grossing media property of all time. And that's because people like the Pokemon. The Pokemon are the draw of that series and the draw of that game. So, like, you can slap whatever other, like, franchise that you want into it. Like, nobody gives a shit about the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. People just don't care. Pikmin are cute, but, like, the best-selling Pikmin game has sold 3.5 million units. Like, that's not... And there's, like, 3 of them. There's 3 Pikmin games. I mean, 4.
Pikmin is a very, very niche franchise to decide to make a game like this.
If it was like Mario Go or whatever, right? Like, you could understand like them expecting that to do well, but like Pikmin, like nobody gives a shit about Pikmin. I'm sorry to my best friend who absolutely loves Pikmin, but like ultimately, in the grander scheme of things, like nobody gives a shit.
Like Pikmin.
So, I mean, I love Pikmin too. Like, I gave it really high marks when I reviewed Pikmin 3 for Switch, and I'm very much looking forward to Pikmin 4. But like, there's like 4 million people who care about Pikmin in the world, out of the 7.8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
Compared to like half of all people on the planet have heard of Pokemon, or know about Pokemon, or can identify a Pokemon. So like, 4 million people versus 3.5 billion, it's really just, it doesn't add up.
And you have people like me who don't necessarily care about the Pokemon games. And I actually have never really played Pokemon Go, but I still like Pokemon. Like, I like the characters, I like the world, like the story and everything. Like, I still like that. But yeah, just I enjoy Pikmin, but I would just I've not downloaded the app, and I never will. It just doesn't interest me in the slightest.
Virtual high five, Michael. You and I have done the same thing. Never bought the game in the App Store.
But yeah, so really my main question is, like, does it seem to everyone else? Because, like, it seems to me like...
This is such a long segue to this question.
I know.
It was like 25 minutes to get to this.
I'm definitely going to cut this down in the audio version, but, like, hello to our video viewers who are seeing all of this unbridled bullshit that we've just put out. But yeah, so really my main question about this is, like, it seems to me like Nintendo is really sort of giving up the ghost here. They don't really care anymore about mobile, and they're just sort of doing things out of obligation rather than any desire to get into the mobile space any further. So do we think that Nintendo is done with mobile games?
Yes.
Just to begin with.
I think Nintendo were done before they officially released anything.
I don't think Nintendo really understands... Okay, let me say that back. I don't know if they don't understand the mobile market. I think they're trying to change what people want in the mobile market, and you just can't do that. That isn't what the mobile market is like. And they're unwilling to flex, and so is the mobile market. And so
for years and years, it was always for Nintendo, if you build it, they will come. If you build a new console, players will come to your console. Whereas now they're in the opposite position, where they're building games and hoping that people who already have these platforms will find their games interesting. It's like there's no incentive for anyone who owns an iPhone to get any of these games, because you don't have to have an iPhone. You don't have to have the iPhone to play these games. You can just have your phone do other things. But if you want Mario Kart on a console, you have to get a Nintendo console. So they've done it the complete opposite way, and I just said I don't think they understood that.
It's annoying because they've made they make their own consoles that had touchscreens, right? They know how to make touchscreen games very, very well. They just aren't willing to make those types of games for mobile and sell them at whatever price it needs to be priced at to work on mobile. Like, they have the skill set.
I've been saying, like, for a long time that, like, if you put The Legend of Zelda: The Phantom Hourglass on mobile, it would be a smash hit, right? Because
Totally.
the entirety of that game can be controlled with the bottom screen, the touch screen.
Yep.
Right? So, and like, obviously it's not a multi-touch screen on the DS, so you just really have to use your one thumb, and you could play an entire Zelda game like that, right?
You could play it while eating an apple on a train.
But like that's the kind of game that people would pay $10 for, right? It's not this like really pared back, cut down experience.
Actually, isn't that the one that has the puzzle where you've got to close the DS to transfer the map from one screen to the other?
If you have the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4,
Vookcast now sponsored by Samsung.
Yeah, it's just like they have this like really fantastic history of making really good things with touch screens, and specifically with like solely touch screens. And then they just don't do that. They keep trying to like half adapt to the mobile market and half expect the mobile market to adapt to them, and like that's just half-assing it both ways. And they're just never going to find success with that. And I think that they kind of get that now, and it feels like they're kind of on the way out.
Yeah, I mean, and if nobody cares either. Nobody gives a shit that Nintendo is leaving.
That was the second part of my question, is like, do we even care that they're getting out of mobile games? And like,
I was gonna say, if Nintendo had hit the ground running with like a Dr. Kawashima, like, here, our first game is this, not Miitomo.
That's the other thing. Like that's a slam.
Talk about that. That is an easy slam. That's such an easy mobile. Like, I would buy that 100%. That's sick. That's so good for mobile.
The problem is now though, they can't do that because there's like 900 billion other brain puzzle games on the phone.
I don't know. I think that the Dr. Kawashima name probably would still draw a ton of people. Like, it's
especially
people
if it
remember
was,
that
like, Nintendo's Dr. Kawashima brain training, and like if they had like you can add friends or like go through like connect through social networks or whatever, and then like compete to see.
Let's not bring multiplayer into this.
but I mean, they know how to connect with like Facebook and stuff. Although they are actually getting rid of Facebook connections, so who knows?
the whole sub-series on the DS, the touching is good sort of thing, you know, a Nintendogs on your phone.
My god,
a rhythm.
That would be so much more appealing as like a pedometer app than Pikmin.
Yeah, I think Rhythm Heaven is perfect for iPhone. You could easily do it.
Yeah, I mean they had Rock Band on iPhone back in like 2008, so. I'm sure somebody could make a much better rhythm game on mobile devices in this day and age.
On a side note, anyway, Rock Band on PSP is fucking great.
I still say Guitar Hero on DS was amazing.
Guitar Hero on DS was
the controller.
So stupid.
Oh yeah. No, you need that weird plastic accessory, but it was still great.
Oh. Anyway, we've gone like way over schedule for this feature discussion. But if you have thoughts, like let us know in the comments or whatever. Again, don't leave us any comments.
They won't have thoughts because nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, I mean, like ultimately, like Nintendo either needs to like piss or get off the pot. They're just like either like do good mobile games or just like stop trying, because like this isn't like you're just wasting money. Nobody cares. Anyway, let's get into the games that we're playing. I'm still gonna have this segment because the other one's gonna be cut down significantly. I was going to ask Angelo, but he's not here because I forgot to cross his name out in the section. For anybody wondering, Angelo's playing Elden Ring. He's told us last time we recorded, and is having a really good time with that. But Michael, tell us about the games that you've been playing.
Yeah, boy. So I finally got to put some time into Return to Monkey Island, and it is everything that I dreamed it would be. I've only played maybe 3-4 hours of the game so far. I played it when it launched the other day on stream for about an hour and a half, and I've not had any goddamn time to play it until yesterday. So it's been about a week between playing sessions, and it's just awesome. Like, if you enjoyed Monkey Island, if you enjoy that type of humor, if you enjoy point-and-click adventure games, like, it is genuinely, like, very, very good. At least the part I've played, but I've no doubt that I will continue to enjoy it. And, you know, everyone's gonna say, yeah, of course, Michael, that's what you would say because you're a total Secret of Monkey Island shill, and you were correct, but still highly recommend. I've also been playing a slight amount of Sea of Thieves with some mates. It's not a game that I have particularly enjoyed in the past, but I was playing with a couple of friends and it was a good time. Yeah.
So you've really gotten into that sort of like seafaring piratey kind of vibe with your
100%,
games
definitely.
you're playing. Yeah. So you must be devastated that Skull and Bones has been delayed into March or whatever.
God.
The game is never coming out.
I don't believe it got delayed again. This is absolutely wild.
I don't believe it exists. I genuinely do not believe that game actually exists. I think they're just going to keep delaying it like a month out from
aren't even screenshots. It is someone meticulously painting art into a screenshot.
Yeah. Luke, tell us what you've been playing.
Yeah, I mean, so I played Return to Monkey Island for review. I've been playing some Skyrim on Switch, mostly just to try and get my character back after my niece erased my save file.
But it's just like, you just rolled your niece on a podcast.
I did it like a month ago.
True.
So I've also been playing a number of things for review, what I can't talk about. But I finished on Tuesday playing through all the James Bond games on stream.
Very well done, dude. That was an effort and a half.
37 weeks of James Bond games. I only did 2 hours at a time, but
that's
it took a while to get through.
That's a long. How many hours do you reckon? Or do you know?
I mean, 37 by 2. You know, so 74, 75 hours, 80 hours, something like that. Some sessions ran longer, some ran shorter, just, you know, because, you know, we ended sort of, you know, between missions and that. But yeah, that was a whole bunch of fun playing through those. And I'll be honest, you know, I ended off with the GoldenEye remake on Wii. And I did that just because the symbolism of starting with GoldenEye and then ending with the remake of GoldenEye just sort of felt cool. And I'm really glad that I did, because the remake is still a very, very cool game. Because they took the basic outline from the 64 game and just fleshed everything out to make it all flow better. So.
Awesome.
Are you annoyed that it's coming out on Switch and Xbox after you finished your play sessions?
No, not particularly at all.
Okay.
Well, I mean, technically it's a new release, so you just have to extend the series. Play the Switch version and then the Xbox version, and then you can move on to whatever's next. Hopefully by then the IO interactive game will be out too. So, yeah. So I've been playing an interesting little game called Railgrade. So you might have heard of it. It's being published by Epic and developed by a Japanese company that I forget the name of. It is like sort of a productivity sim where you like create a whole bunch of like train lines and put trains on them and like transport resources in between places.
It's like
it sounds like
a Factorio Satisfactory Light.
Yeah. Very
cool.
Very much like that. But it's like it's mission based. So like it'll be like, oh, the people in this city, like you want to get your population to 256, and these people in this city really like water and salt. So like dig up some salt and then like send it to the processor and then send it to the people in the city.
Or just ship the ocean to them, either way.
But yeah, so it's mission based, and it just like the way that it progresses. I'm playing this for review, by the way. It is on Switch and also on PC on the Epic Games Store. But the way that the missions progress is a really natural way where like start getting you comfortable with something and then put you in a situation where what you're comfortable with just isn't adequate anymore. So you have to start thinking in new ways. And like these kind of games, like in the past, I've tried them and just been like really overwhelmed.
Totally.
But because this is like mission based and like you know what you have to do, and generally by the time you get up to to how you have to do it, you know how you have to do it. It's really satisfying to do that. And like there's like different grades depending on how quickly you achieve a goal. So like you get bonus stuff if you get better. better times. But it's really just a lot of fun. I will say, it's very good on Switch, but if you have a Switch Lite and only a Switch Lite, do not get this game. Because
Small text?
it has tiny text. I obviously don't have the best eyesight as the person here wearing glasses, but even like with my glasses on, like there was text that like it was straining my eyes to try and read it. It's tiny. Handheld on like a launch model Switch is like just doable. I think it'd be like pretty much fine on an OLED, but like it's really best in docked mode, and if you're playing on PC, it'll be fine there. But yeah, it's a really, really, really good game. The other thing, I haven't really been playing it, but my sister's playing it for a review, is Nier Automata on Switch. Genuinely an impressive port. I am blown away by, first of all, how good that looks, and how well it runs. Obviously, it's only running at 30 frames a second, as you'd sort of expect. But given that the original PS4 version also ran at 30 frames a second, it looks almost the same as the original PS4 version, and is running just as well. It runs at 1080p in docked and 720p in handheld, and it's one of those games that I think people will look back on and call it an impossible port, just like we did with Doom and Witcher and all of those kinds of things. But yeah, she'll have a review up for that fairly soon. It comes out in like a week's time, so probably, you know, out by the time this episode goes up in audio form. But yeah, so both of those really good. We're now an hour and 12 minutes into our recording, and we're getting to 20 questions. So 20 questions. Luke, take us away.
Yes, 20 questions. This is a Luke suggestion. So I'm just going to, on the video, change to our new layout, because we have
a sick new layout with Zelda hearts.
Yes, we have hearts on the screen, so we can actually see how many questions are gone now.
Which means if we get it wrong, and we give ourselves bonus questions for some reason, like we did in that one episode, people can call us out, which is great.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is a B pick. That's all I'll say.
All right. I'm ready to not get this. Was this game released after 2010? Or 2010 or after?
2010 or after? No, it was not.
Okay. I mean, was this game released in the year 2000 or after?
The year 2000 or after? No, it was not.
Okay, so 1999 or earlier.
Yeah.
Which gives us Game Boy Color, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, NES, N64.
And Virtual Boy.
And Virtual Boy. Can you imagine?
I'll give you a freebie. It's not Virtual Boy.
Oh god. We're going to be after us already for a free question.
Was this game released on a handheld console?
On a handheld console? No, it was not.
Okay, so
Okay.
N64, Super Nintendo, NES. Do we want to keep like narrowing down the console?
Yeah, we might as well get what console it's on. I've got a feeling it's not on. Oh, I don't know. Like, is there a way we can knock out two consoles in one?
That's what I was like trying to think, but I don't know that there is.
I mean, I can give you a good question that would do that, but it probably wouldn't help if it's the answers the other way.
The thing is, like, the only way that I can see it like doing that is if like it's in like the negative, right? So like we could ask if it's like on a console that has a select button, because only the Super Nintendo and the NES had a select button.
Yeah.
But that's like, if that's true, then that knocks it out. But then like that's functionally equivalent to just asking, is this a Nintendo 64 game?
Totally.
I don't think there's any way that we can ask one question and always guarantee we'll knock out two other consoles.
So we have a 33% chance to get a console right.
I have a feeling it's going to be a Super Nintendo game, just like gut feeling. So
yeah, okay,
let's
go with that
first.
Yep.
Is this a Super Nintendo game?
Better take some of your cult, Ollie. Your gut was wrong. It is not a Super Nintendo game.
God damn it. Okay, is this a NES game?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't
N3
matter.
and 64.
Same answer. Yeah, 64.
That's good though, because like there's only like what 400 games on the N64.
Yeah, 4 to 400, whatever works really. Oh god.
Okay, was this game developed in Japan?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that knocks out a fair bit of what I would
Okay.
assume he would go for. And this also means that like there's a whole bunch of ones that didn't release in Japan that probably we can knock out as well.
Look, I don't think this is going to be a Nintendo game, but I'm just going to clear it. Was this game published by Nintendo?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I'll shut up.
I mean, don't shut up because you have to keep asking questions. But
Was this game developed by a Nintendo studio?
yes, it was.
Oh. Man, you really narrowed it down now. Unless it's not 64. That would be hilarious. Oh my god.
Well, let's like try and focus in, and if we get stuck, we can be like, we can come back out. I mean,
I mean, I'll give this to you. You asked if it was on a handheld, and I said no, and you eliminated the other two home consoles Nintendo made in that era.
Yeah, I know, but you know, just some sneaky bullshit. I've played this game before.
I wouldn't do that to you.
Oh no, definitely not.
well, he's talking about a game that's on the exclusive to the Game Boy Color consoleizer. But yeah, I mean, like, there's only so many things it could be if it was like developed by Nintendo on the Nintendo 64. The problem is like, how do we? I mean, like, I kind of want to like be a bastard and say like, does this game feature, or is this game part of a series? And then like list like 5 series, just in one question, so we can like knock out half the series all at once. But like that's such a cheap question.
Also, Angelo established a couple episodes ago that you can't do that.
How many questions do we have left?
You have asked 8. You have 11 questions and a guess remaining.
Is this a racing game?
It is not a racing game.
Okay. Does this game have Mario in it?
Does it have Mario in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Alright. Vookcast DX viewers got to see the sneaky BS that facial animations that he does.
I'm thinking Yoshi's Story.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that has Mario in it.
Potentially. I don't remember.
I would assume it does. I can't really think of anything else. Like, it's not going to be a Zelda game. I don't think Mario shows up in any of the Zelda games.
It could be
Unless
Super,
it was, like-
Super Smash Bros.
It could be Super Smash Bros.
Could be
Although
Mario
Super
Party.
Smash Bros. Was developed by somebody else, wasn't it? Not a Nintendo studio. It's like developed by HAL.
I do not recall anymore.
Pretty sure it was developed by HAL because like it shows in like the
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
So I think Smash is probably out. I mean, is this game in a series that's still running today?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like it's Yoshi's Story.
I feel like we've fallen into. I just don't trust anything. I feel like we've fallen into a trap.
Am I not trustworthy?
No. All right.
I mean-
does this game have Yoshi on the box art?
Yoshi on the box art? No.
Okay, so it's not Yoshi's Story. I'm not sure what I mean. Like, is Wario in Pilot Wings?
What? Wait, did you say Wario or Mario?
Mario.
Potentially.
I mean, it's not like really a racing game, you know.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't classify it as a racing game either. Is Mario in Star Fox?
You're asking the wrong person. I've never played a single Star Fox in my life.
Oh my god, I don't remember. I've not played Star Fox 64 in so goddamn long. Is Mario in Ocarina of Time?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is it like, are there like Mario references and like
yeah, that's what I mean.
Some like sort of cameo in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask? Or like either of the Pokemon Stadium games? Like I don't know enough to.
Pokemon Snap?
Yeah, Mario's for sure not in Pokemon Snap. Not in a racing game.
I was thinking like Mario Kart or F-Zero, but clearly those are very much racing games.
All of the Mario parties are gonna have like a Yoshi on the box, right?
Maybe not. Not
Okay,
necessarily, no.
I'm gonna ask if the game has Mario in the title. Because then like we can kind of see if it's like a Mario game or if it's like, you know,
not a Mario game
that just happens to have Mario in it. Alright, does this game have Mario in the title?
It does not.
Okay.
Okay, we're really narrowing down what it could be at this point.
So it could be Smash, or he makes an appearance in another game that I'm not aware of.
So it could be Pilot Wings, Smash, Star Fox 64,
Either of the Pokemon
Ocarina of
Stadiums.
Time, Pokemon Stadium.
Majora's
Did
Mask.
Pokemon Stadium come out then? Oh,
The
no.
first one did, surely. Like 1998 or something? 99?
No, I think it was later than that. It was either 99 or 2000, and we cleared 2000.
Yeah. And Pokemon
Okay.
Stadium 2 was like for sure later.
Yeah, 100%. Alright, is this a Zelda game?
It is a Zelda game.
Okay, it's gotta be Ocarina of Time.
Or Majora's Mask.
Wait, did
That's what I
Majora's
keep saying.
When did Majora's Mask come out?
Alright, I know that it came out in 2000 here, right? But if it came out in 2000 in Australia, I feel like it has to have come out in 99 before that.
I don't think it did.
Okay, I'm going to trust you on it.
So the reason why I don't think it did is that 1999, I'm giving away my age here, was my 15th birthday. And I feel like I remember that year quite a lot because, 15, 64 was fresh. Like, I bought like a ton of games, and I don't think Majora's Mask was anywhere near that.
Okay, I'll trust you on this. If it's Ocarina of Time, then I don't know.
Okay,
How many
Majora's
questions do we
Mask
have left?
have an ocarina in it? I don't think it does, right?
5 questions and a guess.
Majora's Mask does have an ocarina in it.
Does it have time in it?
It doesn't have time in the title.
I feel like we get. I don't mind asking that question, but like I feel like that's slightly. I don't know.
Cheap. It's cheap.
Yeah, it's slightly
not a real
cheap.
victory if we ask if it has words in the title. Although we asked if Mario was in the title, so.
What's uniquely Ocarina of Time?
Majora's Mask doesn't have adult Link in it, does it?
No, I don't think it does. No,
It has like the Elder God Link or whatever it's called, but like no like actual adult Link. It's just child Link who puts on masks.
okay.
Because it only like spans over like 3 days. It's not like there's like huge time travel component like in Ocarina of Time.
Does the game span over 3 days? That's a perfect question.
No, the game does not span over 3 days.
Cool. Okay, so it's got to be Ocarina of Time. Like,
We still
I
have
love
more
that we
questions,
spent.
right?
I know we do, but I don't believe it's taken this many questions to get to
To get
Ocarina,
to
of,
Ocarina
Time.
of Time, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Alright, does this game feature adult Link?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so it has to be Ocarina of Time.
to be like. But like we're both in this zone of like this is too easy, and this is clearly some type of ploy that Luke's played of like we assumed it was going to be bullshit, but now it's like the exact opposite.
Angela's not here, so maybe he's being like nice to us. All right, yeah. I mean, go for the Ocarina of Time, I guess.
It has
I felt terrible about it.
I feel like if we get it wrong and we guess Ocarina of Time, I'm comfortable with that loss. So I feel like all signs have pointed to this. All right, Luke, is this The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh,
no preamble required.
I could have been really nasty and said it was the Master Quest edition, but that never released here until the GameCube.
That wouldn't have counted.
But Mario is in Ocarina of Time because he appears in the window. He's in a painting when you look into the castle.
Yes, he is. Yeah, when you look through.
Oh my goodness.
As little Link, when you meet Zelda for the first time, you look in to see Ganon.
Through.
He's in the painting.
The king. Yep.
Wow.
Oh man.
We really almost went in the wrong direction with that Mario question. We need to stop
I need to find out
in games.
Yeah, totally. I need to find out when Pokemon Stadium and Majora's Mask came out.
Majora's Mask was 2001 here. Pokemon Stadium was 1998. Pokemon Stadium was 2 was 2000.
No, surely. Hold on, Pokemon Stadium. I really remember that not being that early. Oh, okay. So in Japan, it came out in 1999, and the rest of the world in 2000.
Yeah. Okay. But then, like in Japan, it was also Pokemon Stadium 2 because there was like a Pocket Monsters Stadium that came before it. So.
I just remember here you could take your cartridge, your memory card to Blockbuster and have them print out your snaps.
Yeah. And I did that.
That's cool.
Multiple times.
And then for the new Pokemon Stadium, the new Pokemon Snap, we got a $180 printer.
Same.
We sure did. All right, so Michael, you're next. People can send suggestions to you.
God,
you probably have a list.
I do have a list. It's slowly like whittling down though. So
yeah. I mean, I do want to like clear out the lists and do a stream at some point. So.
I also didn't give you any details about Ocarina of Time because it's like everyone knows about Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ocarina of Time.
Totally.
All right. I think we'll end it here then. So that about wraps up this week's Vookcast. Be sure to visit the site www.vooks.net for all your Nintendo news, reviews, and everything in between. To keep up to date, follow the site on Twitter at vooks.net, which is all spelled out. Or jump on over to our Discord at bit.ly/VooksDiscord. Patreons can view the video Vookcast DX early, so you can subscribe on Patreon at any level to get access, along with some other perks on the website, such as a dark mode, and at the $5 tier you can get no ads on the website at all, as well as an RSS feed that actually has the full articles and not just the titles. You can also find all the host's social information and links for all the stories that we covered in this episode in the episode notes on whatever platform you're listening to. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next fortnight.